we will now create our top bar, which is this red bar here in the very top. We have a brand logo or a text here, knowledge base, that works as a link to the homepage. And then we have a drop down that works on hover for language selection. On smaller screens, we can see that this right hand side menu will collapse and hide underneath this burger icon, which will expand the sidebar like so. Alright, let's get started. First, we'll add a container to center the content and give it a max width. We do that by adding a div tag with the class container. Then we'll add our nav tag as the parent element for our top bar. We'll give it the class row since we want to add some padding here so it looks fine together with the other grids that we're going to create later. So this is just a simple grid that will get the classes col and s12, so it will take up the full width all the time. But once again, we need to apply the row and col classes, so this will have the same layout, padding and spacing as the other grids that we're going to create for this project. Alright, now inside of this, we'll add a div tag with the class nav wrapper. Inside of this, we will first create our brand logo, which will be a link to the front page like so, and it needs to get the class brand logo. This could be an image, but in this example it's simply text knowledge base. After this, we'll add the burger icon that we use to toggle the sidebar on smaller screens. So we'll add an anchor tag with an empty href attribute. It's not really empty, but it shouldn't lead to any specific files. It should just be something. And then we add the classes sideNav trigger and the class right to position it in the right side. Then we add the data target attribute with the value navbar sideNav. And inside of this, we'll add the I tag with the class material icons to use one of the icons, which will be the menu icon that we write as text in between these I tags. And then we close the anchor tag again. This value in the data target attribute will be used in a while when we are going to create our JavaScript for this component. But for right now, we'll continue with creating our dropdown. So we create a UL tag with the class right, once again to position it in the right side, and the class hide on med and down, so it will be hidden for smaller devices. Then we'll add a list item, and inside of this, an anchor tag with this value again, and the class dropdown trigger. This will get the data target attribute with the value navbar dropdown, which we'll get back to in a moment. And we'll add the text English, and then we'll also add an icon here using the material icons class and the right class to float it to the right side. And the icon will be an arrow drop down. Remember these underscores here between the words, arrow drop down. We'll close our I tag, we'll close our anchor tag. So now if we save this and go back to the browser and refresh, we can see that it looks correct. We have also the responsive functionality, but we don't have any content for the dropdown or the navbar, and we haven't created the correct JavaScript yet. So before we do that, let's just set the font size for this brand logo. We can see that it shouldn't be so big. So to do this, we will add some custom styling up here. We'll target the nav element and then the element with the brand logo class inside. and we'll set the font size to 1.5 rem. Let's go back and refresh. Now it looks better. Okay, we'll now create our drop down and sidebar. So first we'll create our drop down using a URL tag, the ID navbar drop down, which we used here in the data target attribute. And we'll add the class drop down content. Inside of this we'll add a list item, then an anchor tag. We won't add any real value here to the href tag. And then we add the text French and close our anchor tag. Copy and paste this a few times. Change the value here to German and Spanish. Now we'll copy this whole thing here. And we'll now create the site nav. So the class will be site nav and the ID will be navbar site nav, which we used up here. So these are very similar, the markup for these two. We still need to add some JavaScript for this to work. So we'll do that down here. First we'll get the drop down element. So we create this variable and we'll select the element with the class drop down trigger. So that was this anchor tag right there. And we'll create a variable for some options, drop down options like so. And that will simply be hover true, so it will open and hover. And then we'll create the instance as a variable, drop down instance, and we need to write m.dropdown.init and then pass in the element that we created as the variable drop down element and the options, drop down options, like so. Now we need to do something similar for the site nav. So we get the site nav element, we select the element with the class site nav, and then we create this instance here and run m.sitenav.init and then the site nav element. No specific options, just the default options. Now let's save, go back and refresh. First of all, we can see that this drop down now works on hover. And when we decrease the width, we can see that by clicking this burger icon, the sidebar to the left side opens up and closes again. We have now created our subbar.